LDBC. This is your boy Coach Shelton Harrison. You're live on the Coach Shelton Harrison Boxing and MMA Show live. Okay, folks, I want to talk to y'all tonight. I want to talk to y'all tonight about Generation Lazy X. And, I named this generation this because I think the name appropriately fits, what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about this from my point of view first, and then I'm going to talk about it, how it relates to the sport of boxing, okay? What I do day in and day out, I work with children. And I work with them, and many of the children, I teach them the sport of track and field. Some fight, but, these kids really nowadays, they just not really into the violence and the blood. They can't take it. So many of them, I teach them track and field. Many of them, they do good. They go on to get scholarships and so forth. And, you guys have heard the story before. Well, as these years progress, I start really just noticing that the level and the quality of athlete that I'm training is becoming lower and lower and lower. And it's like they begin to lose, they don't have any standards. Their standards become lower and lower and lower. Their work ethic begins to dwindle as the years come forward. And also, too, the hands-on involvement of parents begin to increase as things get situated. Because you got a lot of parents, and I'm going to tell you what happens when I deal with a lot of these children. See, these children, they've sucked, for a long time. They just, in their track and field career, they just hadn't gotten any leeway, any space, none of that. And so they stuck. They stuck in a place and they're not good. Now, they bring them to you because they know that you're the expert. So they bring them to you, you get them past a point in their career, and then the parents become, armchair parents. Like they actually want to now have an opinion. When they had all the opinions in the world, all these other trainers, they couldn't do anything with them. But then I get some results, and now these parents want to have an opinion. And it used to baffle me, but this is Generation Lazy X. You see, I remember even the other night, I was doing some training, and I told one of the kids, I said, listen, man, I need you to do this, and he told me, no, I'm more comfortable trying it this way and this way, and I was like, but it's not working. And I said, that's the thing for you, it's not working. Like you have to be able to be coachable, and you got to follow instructions. I said, I'm not finna sit up here and tell you that I know everything, but I know what you're doing is wrong. And I know that I have 20 years experience in the topic that we're talking about. So your objective and your thought process is not correct when it compares to what I'm telling you. And, so the guy, just kind of kept doing it his way, and, of course, wasn't getting any success. One thing that I noticed about Generation Lazy X, they tell you all these big dreams that they have. Like, they want everything. They want everything that comes with being successful, but they don't want to do the work that's required to be successful. That's just something that they don't want to do. They do all the work, or they talk about everything that they want, but they never want to do any of the work that requires them to be where they want to be at. They don't want to do it. And and that kind of sad, but it's the same thing we see with these fighters. There's a correlation. See, the age group that I call Generation Lazy X, that's that age group from 17 to 24. And basically, typically, that's who I deal with, that I've seen. I begin to see a degeneration of work ethic, skill sets, everything. I'm starting to see that degeneration happen over time. And I know next year it's probably going to be a lot worse. Now, see, a lot of this stuff from Generation Lazy X, it starts at home. See, these kids, first of all, people ages 17 to 24. Now, I'm not saying everybody. I'm saying the majority. The majority of them, they don't have any kind of like social skills. They don't have them. And they don't know how to hold a complete conversation with you. They can't do it. You know how they hold a conversation? They can text it to you. They can tweet it to you. They can Instagram to it. They can do all of that for you. Or they can message it to you on Facebook. They can do that. And they can pretty much almost elaborate, many of them can, through social media. But they can't stand there in your face and actually have a conversation with you. They can't do it. Now, keep listening to the video, because I'm going to get to where this ties into boxing. Many of these young people, they can't do it. It's almost an impossible thing for them to do, to sit there and have a conversation, to get them to express how they feel. Or have you ever called one of them and they don't answer the phone call, but then they send you a text back instead of just answering the phone? And I start shaking my head because they don't have the social aptitude to actually go and have a conversation. A sit down adult, they can't do it. That's just the way that is. They can't do it. And I started, really just taking them to like, what is wrong with them? Like, what is wrong? What are these kids? What's wrong with these? First of all, their parents, they do everything for them. They're entitled. They don't have to do anything. Their parents do it all. See, even at age 20 and 24, their parents are still doing things that they should be doing for themselves. Their parents are doing things that they should be damn well doing for themselves. But it's this generation lazy X where the parents, they want so much for these kids not to fail. So they will do anything. And the coach means they'll do anything. I done seen some parents do some crazy stuff. I done seen some parents lie. I done seen some parents cheat. I done seen parents do a lot of crazy stuff just so their kids wouldn't have to understand what it feels like to be a failure. They can't stand it. They can't stand it. But parents, they do everything for these kids. Do everything. They pay for everything. They buy everything. And nowadays kids, they don't even got to get no job. You know what they do? They just sit at home. A lot of them sit at home. But they can't hold a conversation. They don't know how to be socially inept. They don't know how to express themselves. And how many of y'all, if you deal with children, y'all gonna love this. You deal with children and you don't even know that there's a problem with you and that kid. You don't know. You have no clue on God's green earth what the problem is. But then you get a phone call from their parents, or their parents come talk to you, and mind you, you don't even know what's going on. Now they go home and tell their silly ass parents. They go home and tell them. But you never know anything. So you don't know there's an issue. You don't know it. See, when we were kids, I was forced. Like my mom and my dad, they didn't handle issues. They never solved a problem that I created, and they never solved a problem that I could go fix myself. My parents never did that. My mom, she didn't come to the school. They didn't come to the school. They didn't have to. They didn't want to. They had jobs. My job was to go handle stuff at school. And that's what I did. But look, I'm going to tell y'all something. I done seen a parent go to all of their classes with a kid because somebody was messing with them, picking on them. And I'm sitting here, I'm saying to myself, no, you tell him to get up and you tell him to go knock the teeth down that boy's throat that's messing with him. That's what you teach him. And I know it might come with a suspension, but dang it, it's better than getting bullied every day. It's better than somebody smacking you in the back of the head. It's better than somebody knocking your books out of your hand. It's better than somebody making you feel like you less than crap. But Generation Lazy X, they can't do that. They don't have that gear switch. And God forbid, Generation Lazy X, you put them in competition mode. They can't do it. They fall apart. They fall apart when it's time to go compete. They can't do it. Now in practice, oh man, you get some of the best practices of all time out of Generation Lazy X. I'm talking about, boy, they practice like kings. But when they get to the competition, they don't want to listen. They can't execute. They tense up. They having anxiety attacks. I mean, all kind of stuff. And you just want to, and a lot of times, I'm going to be honest with y'all, some athletes, I just want to take my hand and slap the living piss right out of them and say, get it together. What did I just teach you? Why are you scared? But I don't know. I guess competition, I live for competition. I thought about competition. I wanted to compete. I wanted to compete on the highs. I wanted to. I embraced that. I embraced having pressure put on me. I embraced it. Because, see, we were forced to respond. But, see, Generation Lazy X, they are now in positions where they don't have to deal with pressure. Because their parents do it for them. Point in case, let's look at Danny Garcia. We always used to sit back and wonder, why does Danny Garcia never, and the coach means never, why does Danny Garcia never really, talk for itself? Why? Now we know why. The truth came out. When Keith Thurman got in Danny Garcia's face after Danny Garcia beat up some bum, Keith Thurman got in his face. And Keith Thurman point blank told him, look, let's get this done. Let's get this done because you've been running your mouth. Like Keith Thurman got in this man's face and told him what was up. Danny Garcia, you should see Danny Garcia was about to cry. And I'm going to tell y'all, that's also why that precipitated a lot of the stuff between Keith and Angel Garcia. See, Angel Garcia came to the defense of Danny. And Angel Garcia, I can probably imagine he been coming to Danny defense his whole life. But Danny is another fighter. Dan Generation Lazy X. They want the Floyd Mayweather paydays. They want these big, massive paydays. And these guys are a trip. They want these massive paydays, but then they don't want to go in there and take the risk, man. They don't want to go in there and take a risk. They don't want to do it. It's too much. And I used to always say, well, you know, these fighters got promoters. Man, I think these fighters, I was completely wrong when I made that statement. These fighters, they got to say so on who they want to fight. They got to say so. People, stop. They got to say so. See, a fighter can put their foot down and say, you know what? This is who I want. Make the fight happen. But a lot of these fighters, they really don't want it. They really don't want it. They don't want to be that good. See, you know what they want to do? They want to sit back. They want to talk about how they going to do this and how they going to do that. But when you ask these people, Generation Lazy X, to go put that work in, they ain't wanting to do it. They always want to take a shortcut. Even in my own gym. You can't do a half of a push-up. You can't go halfway to the ground. You got to go all the way to the ground without touching the ground. About an inch of space up on the ground. And if you can't do that, then we're going to keep doing to us right. You know what they go do? They cry, they tell their mama, they tell their stupid daddies. And then, you know, they try to paint you out to be the bad guys. Look, ma'am, I ain't got time. If they can't do this, if they ain't trying to do it, get them out of here. That's how I run my gym. If I don't say, if you ain't trying to do it, if you ain't making no air, you get out. That's how I run my gym. I don't play with these people. And I don't play with parents of Generation Lazy X. I don't play with them. They can't even come inside. They can't, and if they can't understand that, then they got to go. I'm real tough. I'm real tough when it comes to getting results. Because I don't want to play with these jokers. Because, see, too many people been letting them slide. Too many people been letting them get away with just doing dumb stuff. And then, you know, some of them, they want to come in there and play and all this lap. I said, look, this ain't school. Get your ass in gear. This ain't school. I run the show in here. There ain't no teachers in here. And if your parents don't like it, then you send them in here and I tell them what I said. And if you want to buck up, I will jack you up and put you on the ground. And if your parents want to come in here and buck up, I'll put them on the ground too. See, that's how I run it. There's no democracy in this gym. It's dictatorship because I'm running the show. That's just how it is. And some people can't handle it. I have a lot of people, they can't handle that. They can't handle a disciplinarian. They can't handle it. They take their kids out. And I said, good, that's what you're supposed to do. But the people that stay, they stay. The people that stay, they stay. But the people that leave, they leave. And I tell them straight up, hey, this ain't for them. This ain't the place. I said, you know, one parent last week, I told him, I said, hey, you know, I appreciate you, you know, showing interest, but this ain't the place, you know, this ain't the place for your child. This just not the place. Because, see, you want to be hands-on, and no, that's a no-no. Okay? You don't know how to keep your mouth shut. That's a no-no. I said, when I'm talking, you keep your mouth shut. Because if you knew so damn much, you would know what to say and do. Keep your mouth shut. I told this how I come out. Keep your mouth shut. And that's just the way it is, y'all. That's just how it is. But see, now fast forward to Generation Lazy X. You know they don't listen. You can tell these jokers something 5 times. They ain't hearing you. They can't hear you. Then when you finally have to shout at them and tell them to their face, look, what did I just tell you? And you got to keep telling them and telling them and telling them until it's all said and done. You got to keep telling Generation Lazy X the same thing over and over and over and over. That's what you got to do. You got to keep telling them this crap, but they don't listen. And so, you know, I done put many of these Generation Lazy X people in their place. I done put them in their place. I done told them what's up. I done told them, look, we ain't doing nothing. Okay, we gonna do what I say, how I say. But you got Adrian Broner not listening to Mike Stafford. Why you think he getting beat up, man? This dude don't want to make adjustments in his style. You got Danny Garcia, who cried his daddy. You got all these fighters, man, that don't want to take these tough fights. I mean, start thinking about why these fights ain't happening. Really start thinking. You got, you know, Kell Brook don't want to take the fights that's supposed to be taken. He a part of Generation Lazy X. You got fighters, I'm telling you, and the way they talk, man, the dumb stuff that they say, well, you know, that fight don't make financial sense. Oh, and dude, you a fighter last time I checked. You a fighter. I tell you what, though. I'm going to tell you, 2017 is going to be a telling year. Because now when you finally get these fighters, see, now when you put them on an even playing field with somebody, what do you guys notice happened with a lot of these fighters that's in Generation Lazy X? They go in there and they get their ass whooped. Like, think about all the fighters who've been going there beating up people. Like, really just dominating and destroying people. And they get somebody in there with their own skill set. What happens to them? You know, majority of the time they go in there and get beat. And they get beat down. And if they win the fight, oh, they're taking some lumps. Or they're getting lumped up in the process. Because they're not used to being pushed their whole life. Somebody done came and defended them their whole life. They act up in the classroom. You got silly parents that come in the classroom and silly, you know, their parents probably try to defend them. You got them, you know, when they had press conferences. Like Kenny Porter, grief, man. I mean, seriously, Kenny Porter. Kenny Porter is another one. I mean, think about all the real elite fights that Sean done had, except for Adrian Broner. When he fought Kell Brook, he fought somebody on his level. What happened? He got beat. When he fought Keith Thurman, what happened? He fought somebody on his level. He got beat. Same thing with Danny Garcia. When he fought Lamont Peterson, he got beat. He was on his level. When he fought Mauricio Herrera, he got beat. Mauricio Herrera was on his level. These fighters, they can't take it, man. They can't take it. And I'll tell you, generation, think about it when you get old, when you get real old. And when all the events of these things have happened, now you got to depend on Generation Lazy X to run these nations. Now you got to depend on Generation Lazy X to help you when you old. Are you serious? Whew. This is your boy, Coach Shelton Harrison. I'm done. What are you waiting on? Subscribe.